This is like very low grade loam. This is like not mixed together loam. Not the stuff you want. What's happening? I'm Matt. We are here in Whistler for the 2022 Pinkbike Fall Field Test. Behind me, we have 5 of the latest and greatest trail bikes. They all kind of hover around the 140, 130 rear wheel travel mark. 4 of them are carbon, 1 of them is aluminum. They all have 29-inch wheels, and we're out today to try them on the impossible climb. We're in Whistler's no flow zone where it is super techy, very loose, very dry, but we're gonna see which one of them can get to the top. Now, this time around, Maxxis has supplied us with control tires. Those are set up to my preference, 19 in the front, 24 PSI in the rear. Same with the bikes. All of the settings are set up to my preference for suspension and controls. So, without further ado, let's go check out the impossible climb. Okay, here's our starting point. Get a couple little pedals before we take on any inclines. You can see how loose and dusty this is for October 1st. This is pretty crazy. There is definitely no moisture gluing this dirt together. Couple small baseball size rocks. First little crux move is kind of up this gutter. Bunch of square edge rocks with more gravel and pine dust and everything mixed in here. We're gonna follow that straight up the pipe. This is like quite a weird, techie, tight turn. Despite how straightforward it looks, it's hard. All this dust on top of the loose rock, on top of the bedrock. This is gonna be really tricky getting through here. And then coming up to the final pitch, this is like moon dust, very dry, like, look at this, just falling apart out here. We need some rain. This will be the finish area. Let's see if any of these bikes can get to the top. Okay, first up we have the Yeti SB140. This thing has the Switch Infinity link and obviously 140 mils of travel. So let's see what that does for us on the impossible climb. That seat goes up in a hurry. This looks mega steep and very loose. Good bit of traction. Front end's getting a little ways. Whoa, slipping. Woo. First high marks, pretty high up the hill there. Lost a little bit of traction. Trying to keep the weight managed front to back. Got into one of those tight turns and the front end almost lifted up, so something to keep an eye on and figure out as you're climbing. But yeah, overall pretty good bike. Okay, next up is the Scott Genius Super Trail Tuned. All the carbon fancy stuff. They've hidden a Float X inside the frame here. But I do have to remember which one of the levers to hit to get that seat up. Let's give it a shot. Oh boy, going up. Whoa, skittery. Okay, so I hit the right lever. The shock was wide open for max traction, but didn't quite feel the same as the Yeti for keeping that rear wheel on the ground. Just kind of got away with all that loose stuff there and putting too much power down. Gotta choose a smoother line. All right, so this is Norco's new Fluid. It's an all aluminum frame, and in fact, there are no carbon components on the bike whatsoever. So that keeps it a fraction of the cost compared to the rest of the bikes in this fleet. Let's give it a shot. Still using an FSR layout for the shock. Fox Float X wide open, trying to get all the traction out here in Whistler. It's loose and dry. Not too bad. Boy. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Not a bad climber. Felt like it was in like a good body position. the whole way up, and the wheel was staying on the ground. Front end wasn't lifting too much. Norco Fluid, 130 mils of travel. Aluminum bike doing it. New high mark. All right, next up we have the Santa Cruz Hightower. This is the new version with the glove box, in storage frame option. This one has an air shock. Let's see what this bike does. What can the Hightower do on the impossible climb? VPP suspension. Motoring up. Oh, it's a little longer, a little skid. Oy. Yeah, I just felt like the front end was a bit taller, had to move my weight forwards. Very minor differences between all these bikes. But, you know, subtle setup tweaks make a difference, and this is the nastiest thing you'd ever want to climb. Okay, the last bike to take on the impossible climb challenge is Trek's new Fuel EX. It looks very similar to their new SL e-bike. This one has in-frame storage, and they've added an angle adjust for the head tube. Let's see what that one does for our impossible climb. Whoa, right out of the gate, this feels like a lot longer bike. That's gonna be a little bit harder to negotiate some of the tighter bits like that. Oof. Okay, so that's as high as we got on the Trek Fuel EX. It just felt a little bit longer, a little bit harder to weight the front wheel, keep some traction going to the back wheel. I mean, all the bikes are a size large, but this one just felt the longest of them all. So going up this tight, steep, techie stuff, just felt like a little bit more bike to manage. Okay, so that wraps up this version of the Impossible Climb from Pinkbike's 2022 fall field test here in Whistler. Who would have thought that the aluminum Norco Fluid would have beat out all of those other fancy carbon bikes in our test? Maybe it's due to, you know, just that basic Geo and FSR suspension. Everything's just kind of normal and does it at half the price. It's 25 degrees, it's October 1st. I heard somebody describe this as hautumn. Never want to hear that word again. But I can see the bike park chairlift is still rolling. So while there's a few days left, let's get out of this uphill zone and go ride some big bike park laps.